To be placed on music hold.
Good morning. My name is Caitlin, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Keys to Selecting and Hiring a World-Class Salesforce conference call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. If you should need assistance during the call, please press star, then 0, and an operator will come back online to assist you. Thank you. Mr. Scott Hudson, you may begin your conference.
Thanks, Caitlin. Good morning, everyone. This is Scott Hudson with Chally. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule. We really appreciate it, and happy Election Day. I hope everyone gets an opportunity to get out and vote. For those of you that don't know, I'm in Ohio, so I am the most important person in the world today, depending on what my vote is. So thanks, everybody, for attending. I'd like to just do a couple of housekeeping things. One, just to remind everyone that the purpose for our webinar today are to talk about techniques, trends, tools to help improve the best-in-class in selection and hiring. And the goal here is to identify what are the keys to selecting and hiring a world-class sales force. So this is our November series. We're working on a December webinar, and then come January we'll get back on track with a much more active series. So appreciate everyone that's been attending and working on those. Just a quick update around meeting our speakers, and as a reminder, this is a recorded webinar, so we will send out the recording afterwards. Additionally, if you have any questions, we encourage you to ask those. There is an online Q&A feature. We won't be doing open sessions, but I'll be monitoring the Q&A session, and where appropriate, I will insert those, and then we'll save some time at the end to ensure that we have plenty of time to go through that. So just a real quick update on me. I'm Scott Hudson, VP of Sales and Marketing at Chally. And for those of you that don't know us, we're a global Salesforce potential and performance measurement firm. We rely on our research, analytics, and advisory services, and the key is to provide you information to help you minimize risk around key talent management decisions. So we'll talk more about that. I'd like to introduce one of our key speakers, Kurt. Now, Kurt, I'm going to mess up your last name. Say that for me.
Kurt Heikkinen.
Heikkinen, sorry, I should have practiced that. But Kurt is the president and CEO of Montage, which is a very powerful web-based tool to improve the entire interviewing process, and Kurt will talk about some of the best practices there. He brings a great deal of experience and industry knowledge working with the likes of PeopleSoft and Evolve Professional Services. So Kurt, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you so much, Scott. Happy to be here.
You're welcome. And then second, with a little bit easier last name for me, Ray Bixler. And Ray is president and CEO of Skill Survey. And Skill Survey brings a very unique tool to the market and a process to improve the reference checking process, something that is very valuable to helping improve hiring, and something that they've done a really nice job of automating. And Ray brings a great deal of experience around sales and assessment, previously working at Caliper as well as a few others. So Ray, thank you for attending.
Scott, thanks. Glad to be here.
You are welcome. So the focus here, I'll kick it off. From a Chally point of view, we've been at this for some 40 years, and to really have an effective selection system, we think it involves a number of key components, and unfortunately there is no silver bullet. Human behavior is not 100% predictable, and so I can't give you one particular tool that's going to improve that sales selection process to the unbelievable levels that we'd all like to see. But what we have found is if you apply a process that includes assessment, structured behavioral, situational, video interviewing, doing appropriate background and reference checking, and doing can I look at the fit of this person and look at the company and work with this person and feel that this person can work with me and my team, then you'll have a very successful program. But you need to start with the assessment around, do I have the right skills? Do I know what the job requires? Is this person capable, or does this person have the potential to do the role? Then drive through the interview process, looking for the right skills, the right behaviors. Do they have the experience and maturity? And then from a background and reference check, getting information about what they've achieved, what they've done, and what they're capable of is key. And then last, can I work with that person? And can that person work with me? So if you're able to drive that entire process through, our research and data says that you're going to have a successful sales hire 80 to 85% of the time, and most organizations don't have much more success than flipping coins. So the key is to follow a very rigorous process, and it really begins with the interview. And so what I'd like to do is turn it over to Kurt, and Kurt's going to take us through what Montage does and really drive the power of using the internet and using video and driving very successful interviews. So Kurt, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
That's great, Scott. Thanks so much. And to our audience, we really appreciate your time this morning. And Scott and Ray, so excited to partner with Chally and Skills Survey. To set the stage a little bit about Montage and our company, we were founded in 2007 with a purpose of really transforming the way that interviewing is conducted, leveraging emerging technologies, namely video interviewing. We have architected and deploy a SaaS-based platform that is entirely configurable and branded to each unique client of ours. And throughout the conversation, I'll explain what that means in terms of delivering a high-end candidate experience. Our solution is complementary to your applicant tracking system, as well as the assessment technologies and reference checking technologies such as Chally and Skills Survey that you use today. And the primary benefits that we deliver to our clients are both operational and strategic. Operational in the form of savings in terms of time, as well as travel costs, as well as strategic in terms of higher candidate engagement and reach, and elevating your brand to win the war for talent. So as we look at the market and the increasing demand not only for video interviewing and Montage solutions, but the drive for new innovations in talent acquisition that fuel all of our businesses, there are certain world of work trends and technology trends that have emerged. On the world of work side, it begins with a skilled workforce shortage. Today's election day, a lot of conversation in recent months about the unemployment rate being near 8%. In reality, if someone has a bachelor's degree in this country, the unemployment rate is less than 4%. So many of you are competing for the same highly skilled, highly sought after workers. That becomes compounded with the fact that by the end of this decade, nearly, actually greater than 50% of the workforce will be the millennials. They have a different set of expectations in terms of how to engage. They expect a high-tech, high-touch experience. Increasingly, your organizations are becoming global and virtual. Recruiters most often aren't located in the same location with their hiring managers, and clearly not with the candidates that they're pursuing, and more employees are working virtually out of remote offices and out of their home. During the last recession, HR was impacted. Recruiters were laid off, and many of you in a recruiting role are being asked to do more with less, managing dozens of requisitions concurrently, managing hundreds of concurrent applicants. And then finally, the positions that you're filling are increasingly specialized. Highly skilled engineers, the increasing specialization within IT. In the sales field alone, the degree of specialization by industry or by product. And it creates challenges for all of us in terms of how do you find that right fit, oftentimes needing to look outside the local market to find that skill. When you look to the technology trends that are driving the need for innovation, mobile is at the forefront. As all of us experience every day, more and more our world of work and home is being processed on our phone and our tablet devices. Video is becoming more commonplace, personally and in the workplace. Software as a service has become the standard computing platform for business applications, delivering a far greater return on investment sooner and a lower total cost of ownership for the enterprise. And social networking, LinkedIn, Facebook, and other platforms are common tools for recruiters each and every day. And so our challenge as solution providers is to address these world of work trends and make sense out of the technological trends that are happening and deliver an experience and a platform in a way that's easy to use, fits the business purpose that you desire to use it for, and helps you solve those recruiting objectives that you have. So with that as a backdrop, I'll segue into a definition around video interviewing. And oftentimes one of the most common questions that we receive is, how is montage video interviewing different than Skype? And oftentimes that's one of the most common misconceptions that exists in our industry. What you're seeing here on the slide is a simple online definition of a video job interview, a live two-way electronic job interview that permits two or more people in different locations to connect visually and via audio. And that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. When you look and think of the area of recruiting and talent acquisition, we know that it's collaborative. It involves many stakeholders. It needs to be workflow driven and integrate into your existing process. It needs to be secure and protect EEOC guidelines and requirements. And most importantly, it needs to present an experience for the candidate that allows them to engage, showcase their skills, and receive insight into the opportunity you're courting them for. And that's essentially what the montage video interviewing platform provides. The ability for each client to have their own uniquely configured and branded solution, candidate-specific communications at the job position level, integrated with your applicant tracking system, 24/7 support for the candidate if they're having any technical difficulties or need assistance regarding best practices in terms of how to conduct a video interview. And then the enterprise capabilities that come with being available 24/7, mobile-enabled, secure, and accessible anywhere in the world. Essentially, that's what we have built, is a video interviewing platform, and it differentiates very substantially from a video chat tool such as a Skype. In greater detail, in terms of the montage video interviewing platform, there are both on-demand and live applications that allow you to deliver value and engage with candidates throughout the recruiting life cycle. We refer to the on-demand component as Montage View. Think of this at the top of the funnel, oftentimes where you might have many applicants for a given position, where you can ask that applicant pool to respond to job-specific questions, answering those questions on their own time and schedule, allowing them to put their best foot forward, marketing themselves for that position, and then allowing you to take that link to that recorded interview and share it with other stakeholders throughout your enterprise. So perhaps you've got a VP of sales that's traveling that has key regional sales manager positions they want to fill. You can quickly forward them off to that individual. They're in the airport in their hotel room. They can quickly click on the link and review those recorded interviews. Montage Interview is the live application, which allows you to communicate in real time with that candidate on a one-to-one or one-to-many panel interview basis. It's integrated into your workflow. The scheduling is automatic. It's as simple as receiving a calendar invite through Outlook, clicking on that link, and you are connected. There are no downloads, and that entire experience is branded to your process, your workflow, and your employer brand. And you can optionally record that interview for sharing with other stakeholders after the interview is completed. When you think about this war for talent, and especially the sales, the high-level sales individuals that you're seeking to attract, the candidate experience is paramount. Since our inception, we've really focused on creating the right candidate experience, because we know that if a client implements a video interviewing strategy and it's not done right, candidates will not participate in that process. And so what we've done is we've created an experience that allows you to not only gain the insight that you're looking for, but allows the candidate to showcase their skills and experiences while gaining the insight they desire into the opportunity, providing them to the control to re-record their answers to the on-demand job-specific questions through a platform that's easy to use and provides 24/7 support. Every candidate that goes through a Montage interview is surveyed. This is our passion to ensuring the highest level of ease of use and support. And this survey question indicates that 95% of candidates view Montage video interviewing as a platform to allow them to better represent themselves for the opportunity than the traditional phone screen and interview process. And this next slide represents the culmination of all of our survey results, which really shows a set of building blocks where once we've demonstrated that video interviewing is easy to use and effective, now the candidates have a platform to showcase and gain insight. And at the bottom of the screen, 97% result have a more favorable impression of the employer and are more interested in the job opportunity as a result of this. And this candidate research information is available on our website, and we publish it twice a year based on the semi-annual results from those surveys. When you think about that that key salesperson that you're looking to attract, they value being sold to. That is part of their DNA. They're on the go, they're fast moving, they're oftentimes a passive candidate. How will you bring them into conversation? How will you make them stop and pay attention to you, your company, and your opportunity? And it comes through using video and the branding capabilities that we offer up in our platform. The ability for you to provide them insight into that job opportunity. Back to the survey results, one of the key questions we ask is, as a result of conducting a Montage video interview, do you view this employer or prospective employer as more innovative and more forward-thinking? 97% of candidates indicate that as a result of the process, they now view that employer as more innovative and forward-thinking. Think of that on-the-go salesperson. Think of that emerging salesperson, that Gen Y millennial that expects a high-tech, high-touch experience. How we achieve that within the Montage platform includes welcome videos, your ability for the hiring manager or for the company to create a welcome video for that job opportunity. Candidate-specific notifications, welcoming them into the process, keeping them informed throughout the process, links to best practices for a video interviewing, and an easy-to-use experience that allows them to quickly engage. We can bring every one of our clients' brands to life through their own uniquely configured deployment. When you look at the business impact of video interviewing done right, specifically for the sales organization, there's the ability to connect with that top talent, bringing them into conversation quickly, eliminating the barriers of scheduling the barriers of travel costs, bringing in the key decision makers. How often do you have a good candidate interested, but you can't get the director or VP of sales time to review that individual? That speed matters, and that speed translates to revenue. Oftentimes those unfilled positions get recognized as unfilled revenue, and the sales VP is not meeting their quota or objectives. So I'm going to wrap up with a couple client case studies to share with you just briefly. The first is our initial client, Brown-Forman, wine and spirits distributor out of Louisville, Kentucky. Many of you may not know the name. They're a global company. They operate in 95 countries. You may have heard of Finlandia Vodka or Jack Daniels. Those are some of their brands. And they've used Montage in over 40 different countries to fill brand manager, or regional, and introductory sales positions. Lee Ashton is our sponsor there, and they've really used it to eliminate the phone screens, drive more effective assessment of their sales hiring, and find the right talent quicker. Over the course of our relationship, we've saved Brown-Forman over $1 million in terms of operational costs and benefit. And then on the other scale, Helgeson Industries, located in our fine state of Wisconsin, a small to mid-sized client that has some of the same challenges. They're a small, mid-sized manufacturing company, but they recruit nationally. And how can they compete if they don't have the technology to reach and engage the type of talent that they desire? And Tom Marshall highlights the benefits of both the speed and quality that they've received through Montage. Our client base is broad. It's across industry, healthcare, manufacturing, technology, financial services. Many of the clients represented on this slide use our solutions to speed up their hiring process for sales and win that war for talent. So grateful to have the time with you today, and happy to spend more time with you in the question session and afterwards to explain more about the benefits that we offer. Scott, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate it. Couple questions for you. So one question that comes to mind is there ability to integrate this application with applicant tracking systems?
Yeah, great question. Absolutely. That has proven to be one of the key aspects of driving adoption and benefit. And so we have built an open API. We've integrated with many of the industry standard applicant tracking systems, and the workflow is simple. The recruiters do not need to leave that experience. If they're in Taleo or PeopleFluent as an example, it's as simple as ordering a Montage interview in the same way they would order an assessment from Chally or reference check from Skill Survey through that same service offering. So we are integrated, and it really drives great adoption and ease of use for that recruiter user scenario.
Got it. There is a question from the floor here about what does the EEOC say about this?
Yeah, besides the question about Skype, Scott, that's one of the top two questions that we receive. Early on, when we started the company, we met with the EEOC, and they have offered up an online opinion available on their website. We also have it available on our website. Essentially, the EEOC has indicated that whether you're doing a in-person face-to-face interview or you're doing an online video interview, they're no different and should be treated the same. But what we have done is we've actually built in various settings into our application to help our clients better comply with EEOC requirements through candidate waivers, through configurable settings that allow the candidate to sign off on their recorded interview before submitting it. We've actually had several of our clients come back and say, as a result of having recorded evidence of the interview, documented evidence that candidates were asked the same questions, that has helped them better ensure compliance with the EEOC.
Great. Good point. Thank you, Kurt. And then I'll be monitoring the Q&A, and if any more questions come up, I'll come back to you. And just to remind everyone that the Q&A feature is on. I'll be monitoring it throughout the presentation, and please feel free to provide those. So I'm going to move into the assessment section. As I mentioned earlier, Chally is a global sales assessment expert, and one of the things that I really like to drive home that's unique and different about us, and back to the slide before, is to drive a successful selection system. As I mentioned at the very beginning, there is no silver bullet, but you need to use assessment, you need to use interviewing, video interviewing, reference checking, background, and etc. But as it relates to assessment, there's a lot of confusion out there about assessments. 99% of the assessments that are out there focus on personality, things like extroversion, assertiveness, competitiveness, ego, empathy, and so on. And what our research has found is personality does not predict sales success. So just because you're extroverted, assertive, and competitive doesn't mean you can sell. It just means you're extroverted, assertive, and competitive. And so Chally has taken a very different point of view and really focuses in on very specific competency, skills, and behaviors, much like the movie Moneyball. So when people ask me, what does Chally do, the first thing I say is, did you see the movie Moneyball? And if they have, we do for sales what Moneyball did for baseball. We use analytics and data to help predict who can be successful by role. And for those of you that haven't seen the movie, I encourage you to see it. It's a great movie. But it really drives home the fact that you can use analytics and data, just like you use in other areas of your business, to help improve the hiring success and accuracy. But the quote I love from the general manager, Billy Bean, is the minute you feel like you have to do something, you're screwed, excuse the expression, that you can always recover from the player you didn't sign, but you may never recover from the player that you did sign that you shouldn't have. And so all of the things that we're talking about today are helping you minimize risk around making key talent management decisions. So those are one of the key things I want to make sure I leave with you. This next slide is driving home the point around what you think drives success in sales may not be the case. This is a real-life client example that was a competency model that was put together for a global 50 company by a major HR consulting firm. And what they said is, all right, we want, through our research, their research, we think your salespeople should be well organized, effective communicators, good at detail, making presentations, objection handling, closing, and so on. And when they weren't getting a lift, they called us in to do a study. And what we believe and what our research says is we want to know what differentiates high performers from everyone else. And when we went in and we studied their top performers, what we found is over 50% of their top performers were not necessarily well organized and weren't, quite frankly, able to read a P&L or overly profit conscious. But what was even more interesting is when we studied their low performers, what we found is on average, 60% of them or more were actually effective communicators, because let's face it, if you did an interview and you would have never hired someone that couldn't effectively communicate, and we found out that their low performers were actually above average in detail, and we like to joke that they were good at documenting why they weren't successful. And what we found is the things that truly differentiated success were things like making presentations or resolving objections and closing. And quite frankly, most personality assessments don't measure things like that. They deal with these broad-based characteristics. And so that's what really drives home Chally and, more importantly, our methodology. The second thing that our research says is most important is that sales is very complex. Just like engineering, just like baseball, there are many different roles that are required to be successful. So in engineering, you have chemical, you have mechanical, and so on. In baseball, you have pitchers, you have outfielders, you have catchers. And in sales, you have many different types of sales. You have inside, outside, hunters, farmers, consultative, solution-oriented, relationship, on and on and on. And so Chally has, through our research, identified all of these different types of sales. And then with our assessment, we're able to measure and predict what's the probability of success. And if you have very large sales organizations, we're able to build very customized and very focused profiles that leverage our research and roles, but also take in the uniqueness of your organization. And all of this data then helps you make much more informed decisions. So if we think about the assessment, we actually are going to administer it. We can administer it through the various applicant tracking systems or tools that are out there. We're going to actually make a hiring recommendation. We're going to say this candidate is recommended with concerns, or not recommended. We can run them against multiple roles, multiple profiles. We're going to indicate if the person was trying to package themselves more favorably or misrepresent themselves in the assessment. And then the most important piece is we're going to measure and predict very specific competency, skills, and behaviors. I challenge you to go out there and find assessments that measure things like maximizes sales results through new business development, or makes persuasive presentations, or qualifies prospects. Those are things that are required for sales success, and those are the types of things that we measure. But the key then is measuring how well someone does that, and you do that through interview guides. And this is something that that Chally and Montage are looking to integrate. Is we have built very specific interview guides, and every single competency, skill, and behavior that we measure, we have interview guides with very specific questions. And we believe in what's called the cone question approach. So we start with a very broad question to get the conversation going. Then we narrow into a more focused question. We provide you things to look for. We have scoring systems to evaluate how well the person is doing. And then last, we believe that you should summarize and look at the results of the interview from multiple people. So, you know, as you think about the webinar for today, you start with reviewing a resume and doing a video interview to ensure that this is someone that makes sense to invest in. You administer assessment to continue to narrow the process and find people that have high potential for success. And then you do even a more focused interview, either face-to-face or via live video. And you continue to narrow down to, all right, I now have a good, solid group of candidates that I want to continue the process to move forward. And that's what it's all about, is continuing to drive the process. And the key is with recruiting is you should always be recruiting. I had one recruiter tell me it should become a hobby. Organizations should continuously be looking for quality candidates and driving it. And a little commercial on Chally, but we let independent research tell the story, and Aberdeen has found that clients that use Chally versus all other methods outproduce in every category that they measure. So case studies are great, and we have plenty, but when independent research says that you're good, we like to tout that. So now that you're ready to move to the final steps in the process, which includes the reference checking, which doesn't have to be at the end, by the way, and Ray's going to talk about that. I'd like to turn things over to Ray to talk about skill survey and how they really bring a unique point of view to the process. So with Ray, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey, Scott, thanks so much. It's great to follow both you and Kurt. And thank you again to the audience for joining on the voting day. So I know a lot's going on in your world. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible to wrap this webinar up. Just to give you a sense of who Skill Survey is, we've been around since 2002. We invented really this technology that you're going to see here shortly. Have well into the hundreds of customers using this, and for us this year, we're going to pass the threshold of having over 2 million people entered just this year alone. So that's not a cumulative number. That's just for this year alone, as both applicants and references. It may come to a surprise to you to see so many of these recognizable and respected brands using us today. I recognize clearly that for many of you, this might be the first time you've ever heard or seen of our solution. So the point really of the slide is to let you know that we've been around for a while. We have many people using us. Some of these brands here have been with us for over 5 years. Give you a sense of what we've accomplished, and really to tell you that these clients, of course, have been around for us, with us for 5+ years, and clearly are our top product innovators. And so some of the stuff that you're going to see here today came from them as much as from us. You heard from Kurt and you heard from Scott, two proven terrific technologies and solutions that help you get the perspective around, can the individual accomplish the role they're applying for. And I'm a fan of both of their solutions, and so, again, it's a thrill for me to be here to wrap up the webinar. The skill survey solution, though, is to provide you a different perspective. Moving it from can they, we know how they interviewed. They seem to be the appropriate person that we want to hire. They seem to have the skills and the behaviors, the culture fit that is necessary for them to be successful here. But it would be great to ask a group of people, did they, in fact, work that way or work the way they say they worked? And that's really where a skill survey comes in. This slide here actually was downloaded from a recent SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management organization that asked vice presidents of human resources and directors of recruiting what relevance reference checking provided them today. And this is probably no surprise to all of you that, for the most part, reference checking today, when done via the phone, is defined as nothing more as verifying dates of employment. The task is checked, and we move on with the hiring decision. Skill survey, of course, was invented to change that. Reference checking historically has been a good place to go and get favorable feedback. And then, of course, in the late 1990s and early 2000s or 21st century, negligent hiring, defamation concerns, consistency and compliance concerns really put reference checking on the back burner as far as an effective tool in making the right hiring decision. So skill survey has clearly now been able to prove it can, through the references providing very good candor around the job applicant, get better information with regards to interpersonal skills, work ethic, personality, and even violent behavior. So what's the comparison look like? You see here the typical phone check. This was data that we received back from our clients' pre-skill survey inside their organization. Typically, 1 or 2 people would be contacted via the phone. And even with all the technology and all the mobile things that we have in our pockets and purses today, people would not return those phone calls. Very frustrating for recruiters and hiring managers to get a hold of somebody to offer any type of feedback. The skill survey solution, all accomplished online, leveraging some of Kurt's comments earlier, a SaaS solution, so there's no software to download, just a user ID and password to basically get started, offers the opportunity for you to request more than 5 business references to provide the feedback on the applicant. It's confidential. So the reason why the candor increases is this is leveraging the concept known as a 360 that's been around for a while and moving it forward in the hiring process. The 360 concept providing an anonymous and confidential forum for people to offer feedback on someone else. And in this case, the people are references to provide confidential, anonymous feedback on the job applicant. Because it's all online, it's just faster. So one of the first value propositions we started to show organizations was the efficiencies that could be improved by inserting skill survey in the hiring process. We then moved quickly into quality of hire analysis and value propositions. The first was, of course, to make sure that if companies wanted to insert this into their hiring process, they could do so confidently with regards to the laws of the land, whether or not they are a OFCCP provider or want to make sure they want to comply with the EEOC laws. We make sure that our solution shows no adverse impact nor bias. It enhances interviews. So Scott just mentioned there at the end that traditionally reference checking is done at the very end of the hiring process. What our clients have started to demonstrate is there's no reason to wait because it's so simple to start and so quick to get the feedback. You can now use it earlier in the hiring process, whereby a hiring manager or a first interviewer can really leverage some great feedback from references to ultimately be a better interviewer.
Hey,
with regard,
hey Ray,
yes.
real quick, one question that came in that I thought was appropriate at this point. Are the questions that asked, and I know you're going to show some of them in a moment, but are they typically more questions or less questions that you would typically do on the more traditional reference check? I thought I'd throw that out to you.
Yeah, Scott, no, thank you, and I'll show and show that here shortly. There are more questions that we're able to ask in this type of format. It still won't take the reference more than, anywhere between 7 to 8 minutes to complete their step for the most part, to go through the list of questions that we ask. But to be very clear, this is not a one-size-fits-all survey where the same questions are asked of every applicant or every reference for every applicant. We have over or close to 300 surveys now in our library that are very job-specific, behaviorally specific, so that the behaviors that will be necessary for the job applicant to carry out, if in fact they are hired, are the ones the references are asked to be rated.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, we've proven through the technology to improve organizations' retention, improve their performance, by basically avoiding as many as 8% of the candidates they were most certainly going to hire pre-skill survey based on the reference feedback. And I'll show you one clear example of that here shortly. And then there's a sourcing tool here. I won't spend much time on this particular webinar around this, but usually good people, good job applicants know other good people, and if they're going to put these people into the skill survey solution, chances are they're putting in people they trust and respect who probably have very similar backgrounds. And if you're looking for more than one salesperson or more than one programmer, skill survey is certainly an opportunity for you to go ahead and find more people. So talking about case studies, be that this is a sales-related webinar, I wanted to share with you 2 sales-specific case studies that we've completed. We have certainly others for other job positions. Sun America, one of the larger insurance providers throughout the country, really had an issue with their new hire performance with regards to sales. First of all, the turnover was atrocious, and second of all, they wanted to see if they could actually not only improve their turnover but get better production out of their new hire salespeople, and this slide clearly indicates that. The second is a company probably well known by most people on the call, Quest Diagnostics. They also had an issue with first-year turnover with their sales reps, and by instituting or implementing skill survey in their hiring process, they saw a significant uptick with regards to first-year performance and turnover. So just some quick slides. I'm not going to get as granular as we traditionally do in a full-blown skill survey webinar, but just wanted to kind of maybe answer some questions that might be coming. How does it work? The beauty of it, again, is it's all online, and it doesn't take anybody who's involved. Three parties. Obviously, the first person is a recruiter or a hiring manager. The second person is the actual candidate, and the third person, the job reference. No one's going to take that much time to complete their particular step, and after a day or two, a report will go back to the recruiter or hiring manager who started it, and they'll be able to see the results. So just to give you some clear indication exactly what you need to do is all the person who starts this needs to type in is an applicant's first and last name, their job title, and then pick the appropriate survey. So again, almost 300 surveys now in the library and counting, all very job specific. This will address, Scott, I think the question a little bit more granular in that the questions that our surveys ask are ones that matter for the job the applicant's applying for. So here, a sales hunter. Clearly, just even getting information around do they meet their goals consecutively or consistently can be addressed here. Understanding and consistently using technology, which is much more critical in sales than it's ever been, so that people can forecast accurately and the pipeline can clearly be seen. Listening carefully to customers and prospects. So we know the sales job is evolving as we speak, and so it takes a unique level of skills for someone to be able to sell appropriately to new audiences that are much more aware of technologies before they even call the person to come in and demonstrate their solution. That's the stuff that we uncover. Like any traditional 360, we also ask the references, if they have time, to offer some strengths and areas of development, reasons why they chose some higher numbers in the rating scale, and maybe some reasons why they chose some not so high numbers. What's surprising is, again, don't forget I mentioned this is asking in a voluntary way for the reference to spend a little more time online, and the surprising part is north of 90% of references will do so. So I could clearly put up a lot of evidence around where Skill Survey does the verification, the validation, if you will, for technologies like Montage and Chally. And over 90% of the Skill Survey results will validate. And that should hopefully put everyone's mind at ease that your hiring processes are probably really good. And if you're leveraging Montage or Chally technologies, they're just going to get better. But there are those instances where you have interview stars. Someone's telling you all the right things. There are certainly technologies online, how to better interview. What questions are most likely asked? Here are the appropriate answers. And so where Skill Survey still surprises many people is when everything looks good and the candidate really seems great, the Skill Survey results come back in a maybe you want to wait moment. Or maybe you want to reconsider. So this is one of those examples that I wanted to show today that will clearly show you the managers in the orange bars, the references in the blue, telling you that this person may not be the star that you thought. These are just some of the competencies. I'm not going to go into all of them. We don't have the time here in today's webinar. These are just some of the competencies, though, and the behaviors that ultimately are rated and then shown to you for you to make better hiring decisions. This also isn't a slide to demonstrate the verbatims that are seen by our clients with regards to areas of development. So you can see a consistent theme here about this candidate needing to improve their listening skills, their follow-up, and quite frankly, maybe they have too hot of a temper. Last thing is leveraging, again, the comments that Kurt and Scott used earlier is we also have this as a mobile technology. Tens of thousands of applicants and or references have now completed their step using their smartphone or their iPad. Again, people move. People want to make sure that they can leverage whatever the step is that they're involved in a way that's appropriate for them. Kurt mentioned earlier again about how more and more applicants want a hiring experience to be high-tech, high-touch, and actually a new way to engage, and Skill Survey clearly meets those three requirements. So, Scott, I'll pass it back to you unless there are any questions.
Thanks, Ray. The question about EEOC compliant and science validation. Any thoughts or comments on that around this?
Yeah, so one of the things that we did early on, Scott, knowing that while Skill Survey clearly could talk about better efficiencies as a value proposition, for me and the team here, we really wanted to make sure that we could back up the solution in a way that would indicate that from a scientific perspective, from a fairness perspective, Skill Survey could meet those issues as well. And so we have an IO psychology team here that spends all day, every day, digging in the data, asking references and or applicants questions, as well as working with our clients arm in arm, if you will, to look at their data compared to the Skill Survey data. And ultimately, we will do yearly analysis to make sure that we comply with the 4/5 rule and 2 standards of deviation for the EEOC, as well as, again, doing as many of the client validation studies that we can to ensure that Skill Survey's solution isn't just improving efficiencies, but also improving quality of hire decisions.
Got it. Just from an observation, from a personal point of view, I was asked 2 days ago to be a reference for a former coworker, and because of my travel schedule and call schedule and so on, I have not been able to reach that person. And if I would have had the opportunity to go online and fill out this survey, I just from the person being providing the reference, it's just so much easier because everybody's so hard to get on a phone, and then typically when you get on a phone, you can't answer those. There's not a whole lot you can say. I see this as such a powerful way to get information. And just out of curiosity, what and you may have answered this, but do you have any stats on percentage of people that actually complete the survey when they get it for providing reference materials?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the beauty of this, right, Scott? So when you're in an online solution and you have the data that you have always at your fingertips, you can pretty much get any question answered. And almost 90% of references actually will complete the step, and which kind of surprises people because the traditional phone-based method, even from your perspective, traveling too much, or people working for companies that have extremely strict HR policies, The way this works, and again, I didn't get that granular, it really puts the reference's mind at ease that they're not breaking any company policy. The request is actually personal between the applicant and the reference, and so ultimately, just because of the way it works and the way it's written, almost 90% of references will complete the step.
Wow, that's neat. I certainly see the value. So thank you, Ray.
Sure.
So with a few minutes left, I'll close out the presentation. I remind people to ask questions online, and the team here has agreed to stay on as long as you all want to ask questions. But I do want to summarize, as I mentioned at the beginning, there is no silver bullet in sales recruiting, and you need to follow a process, and that process should include assessment. It should include structural, behavioral, situational interviewing, tied in with the videoing, appropriate reference and background checks. Because as interviewing is hard, salespeople obviously are trained to position and put their best foot forward, and it's very difficult to truly understand if this person can go after new customer logos and do X and do Y. And you need to use all of the tools, whether it's assessment, whether it's structure, behavioral, situational interview, reference checking, to really improve the overall success rate. And I've had an opportunity to do video interviewing, and I can tell you, very, very powerful. You have the ability to look at individuals. You can forward it around. You can get feedback. I've seen it. I've personally used it, and so I've seen the benefit there. I've participated on the online reference checking, and as I mentioned earlier, the fact that as the person being requested, you can do it on your time and take the time, and it's me being asked by that candidate to fill out information. So the data is very clear that if you follow these steps and processes, you'll drive a more efficient interviewing and get to a much more successful hire. So with that, I want to make everyone available. Chally does a lot of publishing, and we have white papers on a number of topics around sales hiring, sales selection, transformation, competency, and so on. And if you're interested in any of those, all you need to do is shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to send those to you. Second, if anybody would like a copy of the deck, I will create a PDF and email it to you. All you need to do is send me an email, and my email is scotthudson@chally.com. If you're interested in getting in contact with either Ray or Kurt, shoot me an email, and I will send them a note and do appropriate introductions. And lastly, as a reminder, we are recording the webinar, and we will send it out, and you can then forward it on to folks if you're interested. So with that, we have about 4 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Let me check the queue here. I see one question. Ray and Kurt, you mentioned you're doing more and more internationally. I know, Chally, we are doing more and more internationally. I think our assessment's now translated into 20-plus languages. Ray, from a skill survey, is that something that you're beginning to move into as well?
Yeah, Scott, I'm glad the question was asked. I can't say that we have 20. Congratulations on that, because I know it's not easy. But we're launching Skill Survey in 5 new languages here very shortly: Portuguese, Chinese, French, German, and Spanish. And in large part, again, going back to my comment about our clients being our best product innovators, we have several global clients that want us to move in different countries whereby we can use in their languages. Now, to be clear, we have had references in over 180 countries, be references for job applicants, but it's been English only, and so these other 5 languages will allow even more to participate.
Great. So yeah, that's something that I think all of us are dealing with. Kurt, maybe while I'm waiting to see if any other questions, Kurt, any closing comments or thoughts?
Well, I think to that point of globalization and virtualization, oftentimes clients perceive this to be more difficult than it really is, and our clients are oftentimes amazed. I know, Ray, you've shared that same feedback, and Scott as well, how easy it can be through the power of a SaaS solution, clicking on a link and enjoying those benefits. And so that would be the word of encouragement that I'd offer up to everybody in the audience is don't wait. If you see the potential benefits for your company, we're happy to engage in a very consultative process to understand more about your business and how we can serve. And our clients are oftentimes very amazed at how easy it is to get started and how easy it is for you to use and create the right type of candidate experience that you desire. So we look forward to hearing back from folks and answering any additional questions you might have.
Thanks, Kurt. Ray, any final comments before we shut down?
No, I think I'll just echo what Kurt just mentioned there at the very end. That getting set up and started and looking great to a lot of peers and colleagues is not difficult using any of these technologies. So with that, Scott, I'll pass it back to you and thank everybody again for their time.
Great, thanks everyone. And just a reminder, if anybody wants a copy of the presentation or any white papers, shoot me an email, Scott Hudson, all one word, at Chally. It's up on the screen. I heard my phone pinging, so I'm assuming that that means a number of emails are coming in. And so with that, it is 12 o'clock. I don't have any additional questions. Everyone have a wonderful day. Enjoy voting day and get out and vote. And I won't give you my opinion on who to vote for, but I just hope everybody has a great day, and thank you for attending. And we will send out the replay shortly. Thanks again, and goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.